Say hello to Optimus Prime, who can transform from a truck into a robot. Now say hello to the CX-90, which can't turn into the leader of the Autobots, but has been tasked with transforming Mazda from a mainstream brand into Australia's leading semi-premium player. I've been living with this particular car for 3 months, and I'm going to tell you if Mazda has succeeded, as well as all of my favourite things about it, and one big thing that might be a deal breaker to some. And by far, my favourite thing about the CX-90 is its design. I think it's an absolute stunner. Sure, it's just an evolution of Mazda's familiar Kodo design language, but a Charizard still borrows design cues from a Charmander. And I get why some would criticise the sameness of the CX-90 compared to the CX-5 and outgoing CX-9. But if Apple can refine the iPhone's design year on year, why should Mazda cop any flack? Up front, you'll find Mazda's new grille, which melds nicely into these sleek headlights, as well as chrome touches for a more premium feel. The long bonnet and short overhangs in particular make the CX-90 look much more athletic than its large SUV peers, while the wheel fitment is just about perfect to fill out those arches. This top-spec Azami also features a few nice design touches like body-coloured wheel arch cladding and 21-inch two-tone wheels for that more upmarket feel. And from the rear, admittedly my least favourite angle, there's a set of slender taillights and a touch of chrome to keep things interesting. But it's on the inside where the CX-90's styling shines brightest, and it's not just because it's fitted with a panoramic glass roof. This test car also comes with the optional Takumi pack, which is only available on top-spec Azami grades of the CX-90 and adds a white leather interior with wood grain touches. I know, right? Mazda has loaned me an SUV with a white interior to ferry the family around. How brave of them. My favourite part of the interior has to be this fabric dashboard that the Takumi pack also adds in. It features this cross-stitching that exposes the leather underneath, and it's just a really nice detail. You should also know that the Takumi pack swaps out the second row bench seats for captain's chairs that adds another layer of luxe to the CX-90. Overall, the CX-90's interior is a sight to behold and really steps it up from the semi-premium feel of the current crop of Mazda's models and elevates it to a level beyond anything you would get from a German brand at this price point. And because this is a large SUV with 3 rows, you just know the practicality is going to be good. Open the boot, and with all seats in place, you can fit 257 litres in there, enough for a few overnight bags and some groceries. But fold down the 3rd row, which is how I use the car, and that figure expands to 1,163 litres, which is plenty capacious for my pram, nappy bag, and miscellaneous family things. Keep in mind though that if you option these second row captain's chairs, it leaves free access to the boot, so be sure to tie down all those loose objects.
And folding the second row seats down liberates 2,025 litres of storage. Quite handy for when you have to move houses like I did. But big loading capacity isn't where the CX-90 shines, because the large dimensions mean there is a generous amount of room inside for passengers.
In the front seats, everything feels generous and well spaced out. You've got a bottle holder in the door, you've got access to 2 cup holders here, there's a glove box over there, and underarm storage. There are a few little niggles, because if you're using the cup holders here, it means your wallet and keys have to go into the underarm storage cubby. And the wireless smartphone charging tray over here, it's not recessed, which means your phone can go flying about if you take a corner too quickly. And in the second row, there's plenty of room for 6-foot-tall adults like myself to get plenty comfortable, let alone kids in car seats. The Takumi pack also includes a center console back here with 2 cup holders and storage options. But the party piece has to be the climate controls, which really come into its own to keep occupants happy. And in the 3rd row, there's space for at least shorter adults. Look, I certainly struggle with headroom back here, but there's plenty of leg and shoulder room. And at least there's air vents and USB-C charging ports to keep occupants happy back here.
Speaking of keeping occupants happy, the CX-90 doesn't cut any corners in terms of advanced safety systems. And while it is yet to be awarded an ANCAP crash test score, nor has it been tested by Euro NCAP, Mazda has a very strong record in this regard. Highlights include autonomous emergency braking with cyclist and pedestrian detection, a surround view monitor, blind spot detection, front and rear parking sensors, lane departure warning, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise control, rear cross traffic alert, and traffic sign recognition. And that's standard across all CX-90s. There's also 10 airbags littered throughout the cabin, including protection for third-row passengers. Don't be dissuaded by the lack of ANCAP safety rating. The CX-90 has been safe enough for my family, and it will be for yours.
And another great aspect of the CX-90 is its engine. In a world where everyone is looking to downsize, Mazda has taken the peculiar approach of going bigger and developed new inline six-cylinder engines. This particular car has a turbo diesel with a displacement of 3.3 litres, but if petrol takes your fancy, there's one of those available in the CX-90 as well.
Producing 187 kilowatts and 550 newton meters, this CX-90 is plenty potent, outmuscling even dual-cab utes like the Toyota Hilux, and is only beaten on torque by the V6-powered Everest in the mainstream large SUV class. However, keep in mind that the diesel has a braked towing capacity of 2,000 kilos, while the petrol ups that to 2,500 kilos.
And paired to this engine is an 8-speed automatic transmission, also newly developed, which sends drive to all four wheels. And kudos to Mazda for developing a new powertrain in the age of electrification. But don't be fooled into thinking that a big engine will mean big fuel bills. And that's because the CX-90 is also fitted with a mild hybrid system to help save at the Bowser. Officially, this CX-90 will return a fuel economy figure of 5.4 litres per 100 kilometres. But in my time with the car, I saw that figure hover closer to 7 litres per 100 kilometres. To be fair, my driving was exclusively in the inner urban sprawl, so of course your mileage will vary. Still, a 7-litre figure is better than the Hyundai Santa Fe diesel that I tested earlier this year that had 2 fewer cylinders. But I'm not quite done with the praise just yet, because this CX-90 can boogie. With that inline 6-cylinder up front, there's plenty of performance on tap, and peak torque is available at just 1500 RPM. The automatic transmission as well shifts smoothly, which is a bit of a surprise to me, because when I tested the CX-60 petrol with the same transmission, I found it a bit clunky and undercooked. I don't know what Mazda has done in the CX-90 to fix that problem. Maybe it's a different calibration or different bushings, but this is definitely a powertrain befitting of a more premium model. And the CX-90 can steer too, feeling much more like a hatchback than a large SUV. I was initially really taken aback at just how weighty this steering is, but I think it's a worthwhile trade-off because there's a tightness and connection to the road that you don't often get in cars of this class. Mazda's mantra of the driver being at one with the car really shines through here, and the CX-90, it's a genuine delight to drive. It's not perfect, mind you. Because of the sleek design, rearward visibility is actually really poor, especially from the C-pillar back, so just be a bit careful when backing out of a driveway. The ride on these 21-inch wheels can also be a bit hard, and it's especially noticeable if you hit a pothole or come at a speed hump at pace. There's also piped-in engine noise, which at least helps drown out that gruff and growly diesel, but it does feel really artificial and it's not a substitute for the real thing. So the CX-90 looks great, it drives great, and has plenty of room for the family. What's the catch? Well, like the root of all evils, it all comes down to money, because this top-spec CX-90 Azami costs $92,540 before on-road costs, and with that optional Takumi pack, it adds another $6,500 to the asking price, making this a $100,000 Mazda. It's the most expensive model Mazda has offered in Australia to date, and it's going to be a tough pill to swallow for some, but at least they haven't scrimped on the equipment list.
There's keyless entry, push-button start, tri-zone climate control, a powered tailgate, LED headlights, inbuilt rear sunshades, heated front seats, and a wireless smartphone charger. Handling multimedia is a 10.25-inch screen with a rotary controller, inbuilt satellite navigation, and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so Pixel users like me don't miss out. And that's all standard. This top-spec Azami adds an all-digital 12.3-inch instrument cluster, 21-inch wheels, Napa leather interior, a panoramic glass roof, interior ambient lighting, and cooled front seats.
Look, straight up, I don't think this car is worth $100,000, especially because if you're going to be spending that much money on a car, you lose out on the badge cred that you would get in other high-end brands. Admittedly, some of the equipment in this top-spec Azami, like the cooled seats, the second-row captain's chairs, and the Napa leather interior are very nice additions, but consider this. The base CX-90 Touring diesel costs just $76,400 and has like 90% of the same equipment you would find in this top-spec Azami, and it keeps around $23,000 in your back pocket. The more affordable car even has the same powertrain, as well as the same levels of practicality and most of the styling. Look, budgets are tight right now, especially for families, so don't be talked into a top-spec Azami if you're not going to make use of the admittedly upmarket features.
And sadly, that high cost also carries over to maintenance. Scheduled service intervals in this diesel are every 12 months or 10,000 kilometres, which is shorter than the CX-90 petrol's 15,000 kilometre distance. With Mazda's cap price servicing, owners will at least have clear visibility on maintenance costs, but the CX-90 is still expensive to keep on the road. The first 5 services will cost owners $3,217 in total, with Year 3 or the 30,000 kilometre service particularly expensive at $975 due to a replacement for the fuel and air filters. Keep in mind, BMW offers a 5-year service pack on a brand new X5 for just $2,750, and Genesis offers free scheduled servicing for the first 5 years on its GV80. At least the warranty is competitive at 5 years unlimited kilometres, which matches the industry standard.
So, has Mazda succeeded in delivering a truly premium product with the CX-90? Well, the answer is a bit of a double-edged sword, because while this CX-90 Azami drives great, looks fantastic, and is absolutely loaded with equipment, I don't think you should buy one. Or at least you shouldn't buy this one, because lower spec and more affordable grades offer the same benefits to you and your family, and you get to save a little bit of extra cash for those costly services. For the full written review, head to carsguide.com.au.